Good morning. You'll be happy to know all 6 of us have survived yet another night deep in the heart of Killarney Provincial Park. And as we all emerge from our tents one by one, we are greeted to a very gloomy day. So while we wait for the water to boil for breakfast, a few of us decide to have a little bit of fun. Unfortunately for myself, I am out of drinking water, so my first task of the day is to head down to the water's edge and pump water through my water filter so I have safe, clean water to drink. Over the last 3 days, we have really pushed ourselves across some large lake sections and over some truly tough portages. We've traveled well over 50 kilometers to reach this point, which we deem to be our rest day. However, we weren't going to get much rest today, as we realized that the Silver Peak hike was not that far away. So we came up with a plan to paddle from our campsite on David Lake to the portage, which would take you into Boundary Lake, and meet up with the Cloche Silhouette trail and begin our hike all the way up to Silver Peak. Before we break camp and head off to hike Silver Peak, one of our most important tasks is to hang our food barrel, as you see we're doing here. In Killarney Provincial Park, we are in black bear territory. So one of the tactics to keep the bears out of your food is to hang the food as high up in the tree as possible and as far out from the tree trunk as you can get it. To get to the start of the hike for us, all 6 of us hopped in 2 canoes, loaded up just minimal gear, an extra coat and enough water for the day, and paddled across David Lake to the start of the portage into Boundary Lake, where we just double checked the map, and then we stored our 2 canoes tucked away in the bushes here just to keep it off the main trail and out of the way of everybody else who might be doing the same thing today. We were hopeful that the sun would shine on us during our hike today, so we waited for the rain to stop before beginning our hike. However, that meant delaying the start of our hike a little bit, and then it wasn't far into our hike that we had to stop for lunch. So you'll see us here handing out pita wraps, salami, and cheese string, and then to make all of that palatable, the most important ingredient of our lunch is sweet with heat mustard, which we're supposed to be sharing amongst the group as we have a very limited supply. But if nobody's looking, add a little bit more, and maybe just a little bit more, as it's so delicious. We can see here Silver Peak in front of us. Well, sort of, as it's under a cloud of misty rain. But we're very hopeful by the time we actually make it to the top of Silver Peak, which is still a ways off yet, that those clouds will have lifted and we'll have a fantastic view from the top. The beginning part of this trail is very, very rocky and has us going in and out of forested sections and then walking along these large rock outcroppings where we're trying to look for these large piles of rock which guide us along the way. Normally, as we're hiking along the trail here, we're looking for blue trail markers, which are normally located in the trees. But when those aren't available, you're looking for those big rock piles, which will guide you. One of the blue trail markers can actually be seen here on the left in the tree, as we navigate down an extremely rocky section, which is very difficult to find good footing, and you have to be very careful. Up until this point, we'd been following the blue trail markers in the trees, as I just mentioned, which guide you around the 73-kilometer Cloche Silhouette backpacking trail. But Silver Peak is actually a side trail off of that main trail. So now we're following the red trail markers shown here on the left in the trees as we climb the side trail up to Silver Peak. The Silver Peak side trail is 2.5 kilometers each way. So it should take you approximately an hour up and another hour to come back down. But with the rain we had last night, it's made the trail even more slick, and as you can see, the amount of rocks that we have to walk over, it can be very technical and very tricky, so this will add some extra time. I've actually been really enjoying how technical this trail really is. It's been quite a challenge for all of us. Like, as you can see here, we've just hopped over a whole bunch of large giant boulders, and then there's a good 20-30 feet of just roots on the trail that have become extremely slippery due to all the rain. So I find myself looking down at my feet a lot, trying to figure out where to place my next step, and not actually able to look up at the beautiful surroundings around me. So I find myself missing out on little waterfalls or the possibility of wildlife or any of the little outlooks that are along the trail. So I find I actually have to purposely stop to look up and check out my surroundings every now and then. Well, we've been hiking for over 2 hours now, so we know we're nearing the top of the mountain. However, as the mist and fog starts to settle in around us, we all begin to feel a little discouraged that our view from the top isn't going to be all that spectacular. However, as we emerge from the forest canopy one last time, we are greeted with this unbelievable view. It's not as fantastic as what we were hoping. However, it is still an absolutely stunning view, 360-degree view of the surrounding Killarney Provincial Park. We've hiked up almost the height of the CN Tower. We're standing at 539 meters above sea level right now. And as an added bonus, we found a few leftover blueberries at the peak here.
Silver Peak blueberries. Delicious.
The top of Silver Peak can become quite cool due to the higher winds at this elevation. So it's very important to dress warmly, or you can always huddle up like a bunch of penguins like we're seen doing here. The view, unfortunately, quickly diminished as the fog and mist started to settle in around us. It looks like we're standing in front of some sort of white screen. The view from the top up here should really look like something like this. This is a typical view on a sunny day. However, our view looked like this. So we knew we weren't going to last much longer up here on the top. So we shared a few laughs, jumped around to keep the blood flowing, and we soon started to make our way back down the mountain. Well, we finally made it back down the mountain, just as the sun was starting to set. We timed that perfectly. What a great way to end off our rest day. And I must say, it's a lot easier going down the mountain than it is going up. But it's totally worth it. And as we paddled back across David Lake to our campsite, this large pack of loons crossed in front of us just to put the icing on the cake. Once we finally made it back to our campsite, we all decided that it was a really good idea to have a quick rinse off. As the moon was starting to rise here in front of us, we all slowly and cautiously inched our way into the cold waters of the lake before heading up to our campsite to enjoy some much needed dinner. As the sun set on us and darkness took over, we made our way from the lake up to the fire pit, where, due to the rain last night and the mist all day today, it took a little bit of work to get the fire going. But once we did, we were able to cook up some dehydrated meals and sit around the campfire for our last night in Killarney Provincial Park. After 4 days of absolutely gorgeous sunshine, we couldn't really complain with one day of rain. And it certainly didn't stop us from getting out and exploring some of the best Killarney has to offer, which was Silver Peak. It was a phenomenal way to end our final full day here in Killarney Provincial Park.